Добре, тобто ще раз всім доброго дня. Мене звати, як Микола сказав, Якуб Кубіца, і я є керівник відділу комунікації Коледжу Європи на Толіні, що є районом Варшави в Польщі. І я дуже радий бачити вас тут сьогодні. Дякую вам за те, що ви терпимо ставитеся до моєї української мови з цим сильним польським наголосом. Ця презентація буде проведена англійською мовою, але заохочую вас ставити свої запитання в чаті під час мого виступу. Я відповідатиму на них негайно або повернуся до них у відповідний час презентації. Наприкінці презентації також буде сесія запитань та відповідей. І не соромтеся ставити свої запитання англійською, французькою, українською або російською мовами, так як вам зручніше. Тобто, якщо всі готові, тоді починаємо. Ще раз ласкаво прошу всіх. Добрий день, доброго вечора. Сьогодні ми розповідатимемо про College Європи. So the College of Europe is one of the oldest and the most prestigious postgraduate institutes of European studies in Europe, if not in the world. It dates back to the end of the Second World War, which was the one of the, let's say, most important events in the 20th century, undoubtedly. Dobry wieczór, witam. The events that forced the European leaders to ask themselves the question, what do we do next? And one of the answers to that question was precisely forming the College of Europe, the institution that was brought to existence during the Hague Congress in 1948, also when the idea of the Council of Europe was put on the table. And in 1949, in Bruges, Belgium, the College of Europe was founded as a response to the World War II and to bolster the emerging European integration effort. One of the rectors of the College of Europe was a Polish diplomat, Jerzy Łukaszewski, who served as a rector in the 70s and 80s. And one of his great dreams was to open the College of Europe and the process of European integration to the other side of the Iron Curtain. So the wind of changes blows. In 1989, partially free elections in Poland. Then the Soviet Union collapses. There is the referendum, the voting on the independence of Ukraine, and well, there is no more Soviet Union, there is no more Iron Curtain, and the College of Europe in Natolin is founded in the part of Europe that was detached from the West by the Iron Curtain for many decades, as a response to the Cold War, which has come to an end, and as a bolster for the European integration project in this part of the world, a response to the great desire of those who wanted to become part of the European communities back then the European Union. And the College of Europe in Natolin precisely has been for more than 30 years specializing in the topic of enlargement, in the topic of offering expertise and knowledge concerning the accession negotiations, enlargement of the European Union, and the process of this enlargement, also the relations of the European Union with its neighborhoods. So for Ukrainians and Ukraine, this is precisely the kind of knowledge you will be needing right now when hopefully Ukraine begins its negotiations with the European Union shortly. So specialists will be very much needed in Ukraine to carry out those negotiations and to conclude and successfully integrate Ukraine into the European Union. So I mentioned the College of Europe in Natolin. I will give you a foretaste of what Natolin is all about. Enjoy the video.
Imagine a place where nature and study intertwine, a learning environment with history written into its walls, an academic culture grounded in understanding and the pursuit of excellence, and home to a community forged of shared values and aspirations. Imagine a place where knowledge blossoms, tailored towards personal and professional development, nourished by the experiences and perspectives of many, and by the minds at its very heart. Imagine a wider perspective. Imagine Natolin.
Thank you for your attention here. So this is the foretaste of what the College of Europe in Natolin is all about. What we offer here is a holistic offer encompassing three overarching yet distinct categories: knowledge, so the academic knowledge, and the extracurricular research; skills, so the practical elements of your toolbox at any work place, which encompasses, for example, the language programs, the career orientation and professional development, and also the campus experience, which is very much important precisely because it's part of the learning experience. We have 120, more than 120 students each year from over 30 nationalities. So living together and working together on projects is in itself an educational and highly enlightening experience. Natolin is based in Warsaw, so this gives us the chance, the opportunity to be at the forefront of the EU's relations and to be a center of excellence, familiar and very well acquainted with the topics of Central and Eastern Europe and its relations with the European Union. It's close to the borders. We're close to the borders of the European Union, but also we're close to crossing the borders, the interdisciplinary borders, the preconceptions, the boundaries. And the idea of the program is its interdisciplinarity. It's problem-based rather than based on economics, law, international relations, let's say journalism or history. It combines all those elements, providing you a 360 degrees picture and allowing you, with your specialization, you come from very different backgrounds probably, allowing you with the specializations to move forward in what you're interested in, the topics you're interested in, such as, let's say, energy, climate change, security, disinformation, and putting this knowledge and expertise into the context of European affairs, allowing you to understand how the problems you're dealing with or you're interested in can be looked at from the perspectives of other disciplines. So, of course, we will not make a lawyer out of an economist in 3 months, but at least we'll help the economist understand the legal language, understand what the lawyers are talking about when they're talking, and then have this additional perspective, because the challenges we're dealing with today are complex, are hybrid. So the knowledge you need is also multifaceted. More than 30 years of experience and a short quiz for you to activate you a little bit. You can post in the chat. And the question is, how many students in the past several years had exactly the same list of courses, exactly the same curriculum? You can give a number in the chat. You can post a number in the chat. How many students had followed, out of, let's say, this 120, had followed exactly the same courses, exactly the same curriculum? You can use the chat to give me the answers. I'll wait a few seconds. Okay, you're typing. Well, there is a hint for those who are attentive. Okay, somebody was typing, but now they're a bit scared. Okay, don't worry. Okay, so the answer is in the slide right now. No two students had exactly the same curriculum as their colleagues, as their peers in the same promotion. Why? Because from this basket you see, from this, let's say, structure, you can select the elements in each of these categories that cater your interest, that cater your passions, your hobbies, what is of interest to you. So you explore, you choose, and you navigate your own path through the offer of Natolin. This is very general. Let me come back to, let me go to the details right now. The program we're offering, okay, Alexander, when it comes to MATA, I'll come back to that in a second, but there is no defined specialization of your bachelor. This is not the any specific. There's no specific bachelor you are supposed to have. You are to demonstrate either via your selection of courses or your extracurricular activities that you have some background in transatlantic affairs already and you want to pursue this topic. So there is no specific bachelor required for MATA. Also for MATA, please be mindful that this is a program that is not covered with scholarships to the same extent as all other programs. So yes, for this program you might have to pay at least part of the study fee. I'll come back to that in a second. Dennis, yeah, the student collects the courses and yes, exactly. Picks the courses he or she is choosing. So this is 2 years in one program, 10 months on campus. In the first semester, we put your expertise, let's say history, let's say philosophy, linguistics, economics, law, and many others, and we put it in the context of European affairs to give the students a fundamental introduction to the European affairs. So now in the first semester, this is the general context. Then in the second semester, you get to specialize in 4 customizable interdisciplinary specializations, the so-called majors, which I will discuss in a second. 120, more than 120 academics and practitioners teaching from across the globe, EU, the EU's neighborhoods, Southern, Eastern Africa, both Americas, New Zealand, Australia. We have professors coming to you to teach. You don't have to travel to them. They don't quit their jobs at their home universities. They teach here at Natolin in the formula of flying faculty. The courses are taught in English and in French. However, the proportions at the College of Europe in Natolin are very much in favor of English, but you will have to speak some French. At least communicative French by the beginning of the academic year, because one of the compulsory courses this is the only one compulsory course that is taught in French and assessed in French. So you have to be able to understand and reply to the questions during the exam. It doesn't have to be Le Monde French or Le Figaro French. It has to be understandable for the professor, and you have to understand what the professor is saying, and the professor is also used to the fact that he's not dealing with an audience of native speakers. So I will come back to the linguistic questions. Don't be scared with French. In my own promotion, because I was a student here as well, we had Ukrainians who were speaking excellent French, for example. So it's not a rule. But yes, French is compulsory in a sense that you will have compulsory course taught in French, but you will also receive support in learning French, in attaining the required level of French by the beginning of the academic year. In the first semester, I said fundamentals, and you get the chance to contextualize your knowledge. Of course, if you had already had courses in the EU law or in economics, nobody will force you to do them again, so you won't waste your time. If you have background, there are so-called entry tests, non-compulsory. You can pass the entry test on a pass-fail basis, and then you can trade one of the courses. I mean, all the courses you pass the entry tests for, and exchange them for the courses you haven't followed yet, if you already have sufficient knowledge in some of the core courses that are on the list. So the objective of the first semester is to show you that your interests fit within a broader context, and then in the second semester allow you to specialize in one of the 4 majors. They encompass more than 80 topics to choose from. One of the majors focuses on the EU public affairs and policies. So internal market competition, macroeconomics, how EU institutions interact with external stakeholders. The second major is about the EU and the world. So how EU interacts as a whole with the neighbors, with the global actors across the Atlantic or elsewhere. So how does the EU's diplomacy work, for example? And this is particularly important because EU has started, unfortunately, in the circumstances of the war in Ukraine, has started to act as an actor, let's say it this way, in, for example, imposing the sanctions on Russia. So the topic of how EU works as the actor in the globalized world is also one of the majors. The EU and its complex neighborhoods. Yes, this is the spécialité de la maison, the specialty of Natolin. The interactions, the policies related to neighborhood and enlargement. This is one of the topics that we are very much specializing in, and also my own major when I was studying here, European history and civilization. So the impact of history, memories, identities on the topics of today, on so how memories, how identitarian questions, how historical processes have an impact on what is happening today. And with this longer view, it is easier to understand, for example, why for example, Russia decided to attack Ukraine, given the whole, let's say, imperial attitude that was there for centuries. So understanding that contexts helps to at least see what is happening in the world in the longer perspective, and then maybe understand it better. Study trips. This is something we're very much proud of. In the first semester, we are taking our students to the borderlands. So exploring the topics of borderlands, exploring the topics of the historical consequences, the historical context, the economic context of the phenomenon of borderlands. Students travel to the 4 corners of Poland, cross the borders to the neighboring countries, and analyze how these, let's say, the geographical location of the sorry, there's some sort of distortion here. So the historical context and the geographical location impact today's economics, transition, green transition, for example, in Silesia, or the questions of security in northeastern Poland and Lithuania. So this is the first semester. And in the second semester, the regional visits allow you to immerse in topical issues. You see the 4 pictures. the functioning of the European institutions. One of the destinations can be Brussels and Luxembourg, the Western Balkans, and the question of EU enlargement, or the Baltic states, or Georgia and Armenia for the questions of security, hard security, digital security, but also, for example, energy security. So these are topical issues today. And the best thing about the study trips, well, I'll do it differently, and I'll allow you to see for yourselves what the study trips are all about, and I will hand over this possibility of telling you about this experience to our students.
I chose the wider Baltic study trip because I think it's very interesting in this particular time.
For me, it's the first opportunity to come to Brussels, come to the NATO.
I really wanted to discover what makes Balkans so special.
This study trip has been fantastically interesting in academic terms. I mean, we have learned a lot about the contemporary, memorial, historical and political issues at stake in the region.
This trip will provide us with the context of the security situation in the Baltic states.
To meet high-level officials, decision makers, visit different EU institutions.
This trip is really special, and I'm very happy that I chose this trip.
It was just a fantastic moment that surely will stay with me for very long.
Once in a lifetime experience.
So yes, this was a short summary of one of the study trips. There are several destinations to choose from in the second semester, and as our students told you, this gives you the opportunity to speak to the decision makers, presidents, heads of states. I personally met as an employee the president of Montenegro twice, the prime minister of Montenegro. When I was a student, we traveled to Ukraine in the first semester, and I got to meet the deputy prime minister of Ukraine for European integration back then, or the president of the Foreign Affairs Committee of Verkhovna Rada. When I traveled to Georgia and Armenia in the second semester, in Armenia, we came across the riots, rebellion against the government. Of course, we cannot guarantee that every year, but exactly when I was there as a student, I could see the protests against the government, and we got to meet the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Armenia. And surprisingly enough, that person was not the minister 2 weeks later, because the government changed because of the protests. So actually, I could see history happening. Decision makers, members, you get to speak to the academics, local academics, to the representatives of civil society, to journalists, both local journalists and representatives of foreign media outlets, so the correspondents. So you get a very broad and very, let's say, comprehensive view on what is going on in a given country, in a given topic that is of interest to you. And the speakers know the College of Europe, so they are very likely to share some insights, to give you the hands-on knowledge of the situation on the ground. So this is a fully fledged course that ends with an exam, but you're not in the classroom. You're traveling, you speak to people, you discover the culture, and you get the opportunity to speak to those who are on site. It's not about reading the books, it's about going there and talking to people who are involved in the processes you were reading about thus far. So I mentioned the topic of European neighborhood policy. The relations of the EU and its neighbors is at the heart of what we are offering here at the College of Europe in Natolin. The European Neighborhood Policy Chair, based here in Natolin, is probably the only European or only academic chair dealing with specifically with European neighborhood policy in the world. So if you're interested in EU's relations with its neighborhood, this is the place to come to. Also, there is the European Civilization Chair that is investigating the topics of memory, of history. You see here Monsieur François Hollande, who is our visitor. He was not the president at that time. He came here to talk about the Minsk agreements, and you see Sine-Žovte behind him, the colors. They're not there accidentally. This is the Three Revolutions project we have been working on for more than 10 years. So we were researching and investigating the situation in Ukraine far before it became fashionable. He was precisely sharing this knowledge of negotiations in Minsk, which, as we all know, have failed ultimately, but he was giving us the perspective of a person who was actually at the table negotiating the conditions of the agreements. You see the names, you see the faces. I don't have to give you the names. You know Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya, the leader of Democratic Belarus. The man on the right hand side from her is Josep Borrell, former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Spain, now the High Representative of the Union for Foreign and Security Policy. So he was here as well. The Secretary General of the United Nations Framework Conference on Climate Change, Ms. Espinosa, was also our guest, and she was speaking to the students. You get to meet this format of people here at Natolin, high-level visits. In the past year, academic year, we had 5 heads of state meeting our students, including Volodymyr Zelensky, who was answering the questions of our students live, online, via Telebridge. He spent an hour with our students, answering their questions, being there for them. So this is a place, Natolin is a place where you get this kind of opportunities to interact with the world leaders, simply asking them questions in the room, or even sometimes some of them want to spend some time with the students over a glass of wine after the official inauguration, and you get to approach them, you get to talk to them, which is a unique experience. International conferences, debates, there is a lot happening on top of the academic program, and there are the so-called nests. Do you know what a nest might be? Any guesses in the chat? You can type in your guesses what a nest might be. Any clue? Yes, someone is typing. No clue. Dennis. Okay. So a nest, if you imagine a nest, this is the structure that a bird is building for the small birds and for the eggs. It's a place where small birds come to get food and shelter, to pick what they need and move on. So the nests within the structure of the College of Europe in Natolin are those thematic hubs that combine the elements of the program and extracurricular activities, but also empower students to propose conferences, panels, excursions, study trips in one of the topical issues important for the world and Europe of today. So energy and climate, migration, media and disinformation, digital transformation, religion and politics, geostrategy, and the list of those nests is revised every year. Each of those nests has a mentor who is a specialist in the field, one of the top specialists in the world or in Europe, who is advising the students, who is also, let's say, devising the program of a nest for a given year. So these are the thematic hubs that will help those of you interested in those topics to select elements from our offer, extracurricular offer, that cater your own interest. Academic offer, extracurricular offer, and you can also propose a conference. We had an excellent conference, Shining Light on Energy, organized by the Natolin Energy and Climate Nests, and the papers. And then the papers presented by our students were published. So there is an excellent publication that was released last year following that conference. So you get the experience, you get to network with specialists in given disciplines. This is something to really be to explore and to delve into. On top of the academic program, the compulsory element, there are the non-compulsory elements and trainings. You heard about the VIP events, but you've got also the languages, language courses. You can select 2 languages out of 8, Arabic, English, French, German, Italian, Polish, Russian, and Spanish. And you've got the so-called Summer Language Academy. I mentioned that you have to speak English and French. Some of our candidates struggle at times with French, some of them sometimes with English. So if at this stage of application they declare that they already started learning, usually it's French, and they want to attain the required level by the beginning of the academic year, there is a possibility of conditional admission. And if such a conditional admission is offered to the candidate, then the candidate is supported by our language services, getting access to e-learning courses, and then right before the beginning of the academic year, he or she is obliged to follow the Summer Language Academy, which is meant to help to boost the level of French, usually French, before the beginning of the academic year. Also, if you don't want to follow a course of a language you already know, but you want to receive a certificate that is recognized by the European institutions that you know this language on a given level, then you can take the exam in one of those 8 languages and receive a certificate recognized by the EU and international institutions stating that this is your level of knowledge of a given language. And this is all part of the package. So there is no extra cost. So this is all part of the holistic, comprehensive Natolin offer. Careers and professional development as well. Personalized career guidance, one-on-one meetings, advisory sessions, helping you polish your LinkedIn profile, trainings and workshops, the EPSO competition training. EPSO competition is the training for the civil servants of the European Union. So this is like an entry exam for the European Union civil service, plus the networking events, which are which allow you to meet professionals from various sectors. This I'm going to talk about the power of networking in the college in a second, but now I'm going to answer a question from Daria. If you never studied French and you know English and German, you can apply that. Yes, you should start learning French already now, because the compulsory course in French is taught at the beginning of September already. So if you are admitted conditionally, which is possible, you will have to follow a course in French. So it's in your own best interest to speak at least sufficient French to understand the course and to be able to understandably answer the questions during the exam. So yes, this is not about language skills, but this is about communicative French. So being able to understand and speak at least this communicative French, which is A2 B1, by the beginning of the academic year. And also you would follow the courses of French when you're here, but that will be a bit too late because you are already supposed to follow a course in French. Hope this answers your question, Daria. And now let's move on to the great part of the experience here, and I'm talking as a former student who spent 10 months on campus, a very diverse community of more than 120 students from more than 30 countries, EU, but across the globe as well, people with several nationalities, a very rich and very diverse community. This year we have 36 nationalities on campus, including 7 Ukrainians, similar number of Poles. I'm a Pole. But French, Italian, Dutch, Armenians, Georgians, Azerbaijani, a very, very diverse community encompassing the southern Mediterranean, so north of Africa. We had students from Venezuela, Mauritius, across the globe, basically, organizing cultural days. Taking part in the Natolin choir, the conductor is able to collect a number of students each year who can together create beauty and perform as the choir. You live on campus in a single room with bathroom, which is cleaned once a week. That was really important for me because I'm a very messy person. So once a week I was having cleaning service in the room, and the student restaurants is serving 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. So you are taken care of. Your room is cleaned. Your meals are served 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, 7 days a week on national holidays as well. So so you're covered, and you only have to focus on studying. You have sports facilities, a football pitch, a small gym. You have counseling support from a professional therapist if you struggle or if you feel that you're overwhelmed. There is the Natolin library on site with almost 500,000 subscriptions to online materials and almost 47,000 books in hard copy on site. And it's all on campus. The campus itself is located in a historic picturesque nature reserve. This is the Nature 2000 reserve. So we have in the reserve section of the park wild deers, sometimes foxes passing by. You're living in a beautiful estate, which is 20 minutes away on the metro from Warsaw city center, and it is within boundaries of Warsaw. Скільки коштує все це обслуговування на кампусі? It costs you nothing. Нічого не коштує. Because I presume the majority of our listeners are Ukrainians. I never heard of a Ukrainian paying a single euro for this program, including the service on campus, because both Ukrainians and Belarusians and members and people from the Eastern Partnership countries are eligible for full scholarships, covering the academic program, the entire offer, plus full board and lodging on campus. So everything is covered, and even the travel expenses are to a certain extent reimbursed to those traveling from the Eastern Partnership countries. So, скільки коштує? Ноль. Usually for the citizens of Ukraine. I never heard of another case in history. So, Warsaw, I don't have to talk much about probably, but this is the UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's been almost, it's been more than 400 years that it is the capital of Poland now. This is the headquarters of Frontex, so the EU's agency dealing with the border protection, and the OSCE's Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights, in which both of these institutions, our alumni very often find employment. And it's also a business and research hub in the very center of Central and Eastern Europe, with a number of international companies operating. So this is also another source of employment for our alumni. This is some of the beauty of the campus I can demonstrate to you. But before that, I would like to share with you one of the highlights of the experience on campus, meaning the graduation week, which is the traditional way to conclude the academic year with a fully fledged ball. Enjoy.
We have our graduation ball, which is going to be a very fun experience. There's a polonaise organised at the beginning of it, waltz. So we've had waltz classes throughout the year to kind of get us ready for that.
How are we feeling before the ball?
Well, feeling fantastically well. Getting ready. Now in front of the fellas and
You're looking sharp.
the ball is going to start very soon.
No, Polonaise is going to be amazing. We are waiting for it. Yeah.
Yes.
Looks very good.
Stay tuned.
Honestly speaking, I haven't trained.
Yep.
I'm gonna do it like spontaneously, but I think it's gonna work out.
Joanna, how are we
Yes.
feeling before the ball?
We're all very, very excited. We have a beautiful weather. We're all very well dressed.
Oh, yeah,
We feel
that's true.
fancy.
Super fancy.
Poloneza, czas zacząć.
So this was the Natolin Ball. This is the final element of the academic year. Every year, this is an amazing night, which gives you also the taste of what the Natolin experience is, the community you build for 10 months in this beautiful place, and then you celebrate the end of the academic year together. Yes, there is насичене культурне життя, це правда якраз. There is a lot of things happening on campus. So you might have heard about the impossible triangle. Enough sleep, good social life, or good marks. It is a challenge to get all three of those elements. But I tried, and it's possible. You can have good marks, social life, and well, sufficiently enough sleep. I mentioned the employment. So on average, our students secure their employment within 3 months of graduation. 60% of them get their paid jobs, 40% get their paid internships within 3 months from graduation. More than 16,000, at this point, maybe even 17,000 alumni worldwide who are a powerful network. They come here, and it's a global network. They come here 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years after graduation to meet on campus, to share their memories over a glass of wine. But also part of this experience is speaking to the students who are currently on campus studying. So the alumni are speaking to the current promotion, sharing their experience, networking with them every time they come on campus. So this is an excellent opportunity to speak to those who were here in Natolin before you, and now they follow the careers that you are dreaming of. 1/3 of the graduates end up in the EU institutions and agencies, which are, because Ukraine is a candidate state, open to citizens of Ukraine. Other international organizations where there are no limits when it comes to nationalities. Diplomatic service of their own countries. This is the state service or international organizations. Another 1/3 is working for companies, consultancies, law firms, so in the private sector. 12% work in the academic institutions, research institutions. 10% work in the national and regional public administration. Then NGOs, associations, trade unions, international NGOs such as Amnesty International. So there is a wide range of careers before you, and it's not only related to the EU, but yes, to a large extent it is. And especially, as said, in Ukraine, there will be a need for specialists in EU affairs because the negotiations are about to begin. As said, there was a question from Janna, how much is this everything? So the answer to this question is 27,000 euros. But as said, the citizens of Ukraine are eligible for full scholarships from various sources. The Polish government is funding full scholarships for Ukrainians. Ukrainians are eligible, those interested in ENP scholarships, for full scholarships related to the European neighborhood policy. Then it's attached to the topic of the ENP, and you are to write a thesis and follow the major related to the neighborhood policy. But this is a full scholarship. History scholarships, also for Ukrainians, because this is for all nationalities. Yes, Jean, I will answer to that in a second, because this is one of the next slides. So history scholarships are for all nationalities, and these are for the graduates in history and related disciplines. So such as anthropology, philosophy, cultural studies, etc. Journalism scholarships are offered also to Ukrainians, because they're offered to all nationalities. They're offered to journalists, representatives of communication media centers, those who have background, academic background or professional background in media and communication. On top of that, there is a scholarship scheme this year for the Eastern Partnership countries, so including Ukraine, Belarus, Moldova, Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. Also full scholarships based on nationality. So if you're admitted to the college, if you're deemed good enough, you're automatically eligible for this scholarship scheme because of your nationality. So you basically have three different, as a Ukrainian citizen, for example, you have three different sources of scholarships. You can fund your stay at the College of Europe in Natolin. So this is quite a high chance for you to get a scholarship to fund, fully fund your stay at the college. It covers everything. As said, the entire offer, Summer Language Academy, proficiency, the language proficiency certificate exams I mentioned. If you need a certificate certifying your level of knowledge of a given language, accommodation, meals, medical care, basic medical care. We encourage foreigners from outside of the EU to purchase private insurance for more serious cases, so like a travel insurance for hospitalization, etc. But basic ambulatory services off campus are provided by the College of Europe. But then again, you should have private insurance if you're from outside of the EU, in case, God forbid, something happens that requires you ending up in the hospital, for example. So Wi-Fi and all the facilities of campus, sports facilities are also available for you on campus. Sorry, okay. There was a more. Okay. So we accept students from very different backgrounds: law, economics, political, social sciences, even natural sciences and engineering. We had a biotechnological engineer who came to us and who wanted to combine his previous background with the knowledge of EU's policies vis-a-vis the genetically modified organisms. So we accept people from very different backgrounds, and you live with people from very different backgrounds, and it's very enriching. You talk to them, you exchange with them. The guy I'm talking about wrote a thesis about GMO because he wanted to move from the sector of biotechnological engineering to the EU's policies, and then he managed to combine. Both here at Natolin, and we are open to such people who have a clear interest in European affairs, although their background may not be immediately associated with the EU. You don't have to be a graduate of European Studies or International Relations for the program in European Interdisciplinary Studies at Natolin, because we precisely accept people from very different disciplines and offer them very individual paths of growth. You have to have a degree which is the equivalent of 240 ECTS. So it can be a bachelor's degree, a baccalaureate, which is following a 4-year program. So a 4-year bachelor or a master are required by the beginning you start your studies at Natolin. So you can apply in the last year of your current studies, and then the admission is conditional upon completing your previous studies before starting at Natolin in September. B2 in English, A2 B1 in French, at least by the beginning of the academic year. So it can be a bit less if you come to the interview with A1, then you inform us that you are studying already French. That qualifies you for the conditional admission. Areas of interest: European affairs, very broadly conceived, as said. European integration, geopolitics, international relations, security studies, energy studies, questions of memory, history, identity, absolutely, languages. So very, very diverse community. Żanna, so the process is the following. The process is the following. We already started accepting applications for the next academic year. So we will close the applications on the 16th of January 2024, and then you can apply at admissions.coleurope.eu. You can choose up to 2 study programs. The entire process is online, and you need 2 recommendation letters from the professors you are working with who know you. No paper circulation. You ask them for their permission. If they agree, you provide the email address of the professor in the form. The system sends the link, and then they fill out the recommendation for you via the system. There is no application fee, so you pay nothing for applying. So the applications close on the 16th. Then there is a pre-selection. We select those best candidates we want to invite to the interviews. The interviews happen in May. For Ukrainians, it used to be in person in Kiev. I was participating in the selection committee in 2019. Now, unfortunately, we have to do it online. But yes, it's happening online, and there is a dedicated Ukrainian National Selection Committee. Then the decisions are made on the admission and scholarships, because these are 2 different decisions. And the admissions, I mean, you can be admitted in theory without scholarship, but I never heard of such a case for a Ukrainian citizen, for example, or for a citizen coming from the European from the European neighborhood policy in principle, or a Polish citizen. So it's usually a package sales, admission and scholarship, full scholarship for your studies. In August, if you are admitted conditionally because of your language skills in French, you get this Summer Language Academy, and then we kick off in September 2024 with the next academic year. This is the presentation. This is all I wanted to tell you. I see already 2 questions in the chat, де можна подивитися, які програми в наявному дипломі є relevant для навчання. As said, there is no preferred program. For as long as you can justify that your background, academic background thus far, you want to combine with the knowledge of European affairs in a convincing manner, then you can be a graduate of medicine, of physics, of computer. We have a computer scientist this year on campus who is interested in digital security in the European context, and he applied with a diploma in information technology, for example. So as long as you have a clear and justified and demonstrated interest in European affairs and European policies, European affairs, not necessarily EU affairs, for example, European history and civilization, etc., then if there is this European dimension and you convince us that you need this program to grow professionally, there is no preferred, let's say, faculties you should be graduating from before coming to us, Bogdana. I hope it answers your question. Жанна, обов'язково підтверджувати рівень французького сертифікатом, чи можна просто на співбесіді затвердити? So there is no, I mean, you don't have to have a certificate. It can be an attestation written by your French teacher. It is good to provide something. However, it's not absolutely compulsory, so self-assessment is sufficient. Because, as said, if you are pre-selected for the interview, at the end of the day, you will get a question in English. At the interview, you'll get a question in French, precisely to check your level of French. And then basically the selection panel will know. So this will be the ultimate way to verify your language skills. If you have any questions, you have the email address here, contact Natolin at collegiate.eu, and I'm also here right now to answer your questions. Just wanted to draw your attention to the button. If you click the Apply Now button at the top, you will be redirected to the website of Natolin with more detailed information also about the application process and the program, and then there will be the Apply Now button that will take you to the admissions portal. I see that there's a question from Marina. Where graduated student with transatlantic affairs specialty can work after studies? Sounds very specific. Well, there are relevant sections of the European External Action Service, for example, dealing with the transatlantic affairs. You can work either in the EU or in the United States, because the United States also needs to negotiate and trade with the EU. So the knowledge of the internal market, the knowledge of the EU policies, safety standards, now in the context of, for example, social media and the attempts of the European Union to regulate those, it might be actually very much needed across the Atlantic in the Silicon Valley to have people who actually know what's going on when it comes to regulations related to social media and disinformation, for example. So it can be both in the US, in private sector, in the EU, also in the European institutions. So there is NATO as well. So people will need, even if you're not a member of NATO, you can be an advisor. You can work for a think tank, for example, in Brussels. So there is a number of careers, be it in the international organizations or in the private sector, or in the, let's say, bubble around the international organizations, so think tanks, lobbying organizations, etc. I hope this answered your question, Marina. Okay. Another one. У чому специфіка курсів European and Transnational Governance Network? ETGN, you're referring to, these are executive education courses. And these are paid courses. These are paid online courses for those who already hold a managerial position. So this is basically executive education, which is also part of the Natolin's offer, but this is a fully paid commercial offer for managers. Okay. College of Europe gives a Polish diploma or some other standard. The College of Europe gives you the Belgian diploma, more specifically the Flemish one. So the diploma issued is issued under the Flemish education system, because the program is also accredited by the Flemish higher education authority. So Flanders in Belgium, basically. So the Belgian, let's say, degree in that sense. Nina, thank you for your question. Олег, на яку стипендію краще подаватися, щоб попасти на кафедру європейської цивілізації? Well, if you go into the application form, you will find the information or the field for a specific application for the scholarships for the related to European history and civilization. There is a general motivation letter for the college, and if you wish to apply for the European history and civilization scholarship, then you should provide additional justification why, because of your background, because of your interest, because of your activities thus far, you are a good candidate for this specific scholarship. So this is, I mean, it won't hurt to apply for the scholarship, but also if you are deemed during the interview to be a good candidate, there are also two other scholarships. The scholarship of the Polish government and the EU for Youth. I mentioned the EU for Youth program. And for those, you don't need to do anything. If you are admitted to the college, then you are automatically eligible for either of the two scholarships, EU for Youth or the Polish government scholarship, because you're Ukrainian, basically. So that would be my answer. Окей, можете ще раз розказати про можливості в плані оплати для студентів з України. Briefly, let me just go back to the presentation for a short while. These are the scholarships. So the Polish government is funding full scholarships for Ukrainians. There is no need to do anything extra. If you are admitted because of your interesting profile, then you are automatically eligible if you are a Ukrainian because of your nationality. So if you're admitted, then you are eligible for the scholarship from the Polish government. You are eligible for the ENP scholarships, but this requires, let's say, you are eligible because you are a citizen of the ENP. You are eligible for a history scholarship, and this requires in this application form providing an additional motivation letter, and also the journalism scholarship, which is also assigned based on your profile. So if you present yourself and provide evidence of your journalistic, be it academic or professional background, you will also be eligible or considered for the journalistic scholarship. And for the EU for Youth program, Phase 3 Youth Employment Entrepreneurship, all the Eastern Partnership countries, including Ukraine, are eligible. And if you're admitted, then you are also automatically considered for this scholarship. So you don't have to do anything. If you wish to receive a scholarship in history, in history, basically, you have to simply provide an additional specific motivation letter for this scholarship on top of the general motivation letter for the college. I'm not sure, Natalia, чи це було зрозуміло, чи... Питань нема. Дякую, Богдана, також. Якщо у вас ще є запитання до мене, я буду радий відповідати. Звертайтеся українською, російською, як вам зручно. І я вас запрошую. Тут ось є Apply Now. Натисніть, будь ласка, тоді ви можете там відкрити вже свою заяву на нашому сайті, відкрити свій профіль і там вже стати, готуватися до цього процесу аплікації. Я вибачаюся за свою українську, вже давно не говорив. Василю, все супер, радий, що вам подобається. Магістр мистецтв у трансатлантичних справах, МАТА. Яку треба мати спеціальність бакалавра, щоб поступити на цю спеціальність? І чи треба віза в США? В США треба віза, тому що частина цієї програми відбувається якраз в США. А спеціальність бакалавра, як сказав, немає однієї спеціальності, тому що якщо у вас є досвід у цих питаннях трансатлантичних справ, будь-яка спеціальність влаштовує нас. Просто це питання вашого досвіду, і якщо ми бачимо у програмі студії або в цьому, що ви досі робили професійно, або як студент в якихось там научних клубах, наукових клубах, тоді, якщо бачимо, що у вас є досвід у трансатлантичних справах, це вистачає вже. Але, як я сказав, для цього магістра мистецтв немає, на жаль, стипендій. Значить, вони є, але це частичні стипендії, тобто треба платити за цю програму частично. За European Interdisciplinary Studies не треба взагалі, Олександре. Я сподіваюся, що я відповів на це ваше запитання. Якщо щось ще не ясно, питайте, будь ласка. Де можна подивитися, які програми в наявному дипломі є релевант для навчання. Якщо ви зайдете на цей сайт Apply Now, через Apply Now або зараз напишу в чаті. Окей, College Europe UEIS. На цих сайтах можна там подивитися, які курси, які програми ми пропонуємо. І що стосується курсів, які ви досі мали на вашому вищому навчальному закладі, я сказав, що просто, якщо у вас є зацікавлення, що стосується питань Євросоюзу, тоді ми приймаємо таких кандидатів завжди. Просто треба нам розповісти, чому саме ви хочете займатися зараз ЄС і що ви досі зробили, щоб отримати якийсь досвід у цьому, у цих питаннях. Як там у Варшаві набагато ціни зросли за останній час. Ну, трішки зросли, я можу сказати, але, можливо є вижити. Тобто, це також не питання для цих, які навчаються в коледжі, тому що повне харчування, повний пансіон і житло на кампусі, все у вас є, тобто не треба купувати харчування, не треба платити за житло. Тобто, що стосується цін, ви ходите там десь в магазин біля кампусу, мені здається, що це Lidl, наприклад, і там ціни більш-менш нормальні, як в Україні, я б сказав. Це мені кажуть мої друзі українці, що ціни зараз майже такі, як в Варшаві. So if you have questions, let me know. I'm here to answer. Немає за що, Олеже. Okay, so thank you very much. If there are no more questions, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I do hope you apply to the College of Europe in Natolin and receive a full scholarship and receive a booster in your career that will take you very far in your professional life. I have a very dear alumnus, Vasil, who graduated 2 years ago, and now he's working for the Commission in his internship. So I am very proud to see Vasil working at the Commission and meeting Ursula von der Leyen and being featured in her social media when she's meeting the Ukrainian and interns. And I'm really, really personally proud to see Vasil in that footage she's posting on Instagram. So yes, the road is open. The employment opportunities are there because of the accession process of Ukraine to the European Union. So specialists are needed, and you will be needed should you graduate from the College of Europe with this expertise and education we are offering. So if there are no more questions, thank you very much for joining us and have an excellent evening. Бажаю гарного вечору і до зустрічі на Толіні, сподіваюся.